Hi, today we're going over CCM8 Unit 1 Lesson 3, Finding Perfect Square Roots. Some definitions for you. A perfect square is a number that has two identical integer factors. An integer is a positive or negative whole number. So basically you're asking yourself, what two whole numbers can I multiply together that have to be the same, identical, to give me my number? So a square root is shown by this symbol, VIC number 1, that stands for very important concept. When you take the square root of a number, you will get a positive and a negative answer. If you look back in the old videos about squaring a number, if you take 5 and you square it, that's 5 times 5, and that gives you 25. Well, you can also take negative 5 and square it. That's negative 5 times negative 5. That also gives you 25 as an answer. So when we take the square root of a number, which is undoing squaring a number, then you can get two answers, a positive and a negative. The principal square root is the positive version of the answer to your square root problem. This is what your calculator will report. So if you're using your calculator to do any square root problems, your calculator will report the positive answer, which is called the principal square root. So let's find the square root of these numbers. Number 1, the square root of 16. Basically, we're asking ourselves what times what gives us 16. Again, it's easiest to memorize these answers, and probably some of you already have them memorized. But we're going to report both 4 and negative 4. Because remember, I said it could be a positive number and a negative number for your answer. Because 4 times 4 is 16, negative 4 times negative 4 is also 16. Why don't you try number 2 and 3 right now? Pause the video and go ahead and try it yourself. Okay, did you get 10 and negative 10 for 100? And positive or negative 12. This is a different way to write basically what we wrote over here. It's just a different way. You might see that in the future. Positive or negative 12 is the answer to the square root of 144. All right, let's take a look at number 4. This is actually the negative square root of 4. So what we need to concentrate on is taking the square root of 4 and then multiplying it by negative 1. So in this case, our answer is just going to be negative 2. Because the square root of 4 is 2, and then we're multiplying it by negative 1. So it's just negative 2. And this one would be negative 5. Pretty easy, right? All right, we've got some evaluating to do. What we need to do when we see these problems is we need to concentrate on the square root first. Kind of like order of operations, we would concentrate on the exponent. Well, this is the opposite of raising something to a power. So this kind of takes priority. So let's first find the square root of 49 in problem 1. Square root of 49 is 7. Then let's add 10 to it, and we get 17. So 17 is our answer. Number 2, you see how the square root symbol is over the 150 and the minus 29? What that is telling us to do is it's telling us to evaluate the inside of the square root symbol first. So 150 take away 29 is 121. And then I'm going to take the square root of 121, which is 11. We could do positive or negative 11. But in these answers, I'm just going to write the principal square root. All right, number 3, I've got a decimal. But I recognize 225. I recognize that 225. The square root of 225 is 15. So I bet the square root of this is not 15, but it's going to be 1.5. And I shouldn't have drawn that symbol, because if I'm taking the square root of something, that square root symbol goes away. So the square root of 2.25 is actually 1.5. And I can double check myself by doing some multiplication over here. 1.5 times 1.5. That's a good way to check yourself, or also check yourself in the calculator. What about the square root of 1.21? I recognize that 121 from this problem before, so I bet the answer is going to be not 11, but 1.1. You see how that kind of works out there? All right. And lastly, let's solve this short word problem. What will the length of a tablecloth be that has an area of 3,600 centimeters squared? So if I drew a picture, I've got a square tablecloth and the area is 3,600. I need to know what the length is. And so to find the area of a square, I normally do side squared, and that would give me the area. So let's undo squaring, which is the same as taking the square root. And that will give me my answer. I knew the answer was 60 because the square root of 36 is 6. And so if I just add another 0, that gives me my answer. All right, I hope you learned something.